US tech stocks surge as confidence returns to the sector. The number of senior women in charge of large ASX companies spikes, but it's still well below the number of male CEOs. And Qantas changes the rules for what their aircrew can wear. It's Monday, the 12th of June, 2023. Welcome to Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Now, Sean, with much of the country enjoying the King's birthday long weekend, this morning's show is a little bit shorter. We've got some fantastic stories coming up, and you've got a great chat, an interview coming up straight after the show. You're speaking with Kian Tracy, the Chief Executive of Sustainable Choice Group.
Yes, so it's a startup, and what Sustainable Choice Group is hoping to do is introduce a more or less standardised measurement for green transition. Now, there's a lot going on, greenwashing, green hushing, the idea that companies aren't talking about what they're doing, which ASIC is just as worried about as those overstating it. And what Tracy and the team at Sustainable Choice Group is trying to do is kind of find a measurement which can alleviate those problems. It's a really interesting chat, Michael.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Kiana's a great communicator. It's well worth sticking around for. It's coming up a bit later on. The main story this morning, though, Sean, is one out of the US where tech stocks are on a tear, helping the local IT companies as well, with the tech-heavy NASDAQ up 27% since the beginning of the year. Not bad.
Not bad. There have been some incredible performances. We've spoken a bit about chip maker NVIDIA. It's raiding the artificial intelligence wave, and its share price is up 170% this year, easily the best of the lot. But there's a few others. An easing of supply chain issues and a rush of sales alongside beneficial tax changes in the US have helped Tesla's share price jump 126% this year, while Meta, father of Facebook and Instagram, is up 112%. The laggards are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet. They're up between 35 and 45%. Now, compare that to the broader S&P 500, which is up about 12%, or the local ASX 200, which is up about 1% this year. And it just shows you how popular tech stocks are at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But break it down for me just a little bit. Why have these tech stocks done so well?
The crazy outperformers like NVIDIA and Tesla have had stock-specific reasons. Artificial intelligence for NVIDIA, Tesla was changes in terms of tax treatment in the US. But more generally, the sentiment around tech stocks is much, much more positive. Three reasons for that. First, they were sold off really hard in 2022. So they entered this year at lower valuations. Hence, the rise is off a lower base. People also like investing in tech stocks when they want long-term growth. So there's a bit of uncertainty around at the moment, we know that, but people think tech stocks, or the big guys particularly, do have long-term growth. Third, they also like tech stocks when interest rates are at or near a peak, and that seems to be the case in the US. It seems to be the case here. That's not to say there won't be 1, 2, maybe 3 more rate rises, but certainly when interest rates have peaked, that's when people start turning to tech stocks. There's also a fourth one, which I should really throw in. Tech stocks are often considered recession-proof. So the idea, COVID was an example of that, where there was a downturn, but the tech stocks did well. It's that idea that people will always use technology even if there is a downturn. You put all that together, and that's why they've done so well.
And of course, we're not an investing podcast, so always important to get specific advice when you're making these kind of decisions. But with this improvement in the kind of general sentiment around tech stocks, is that translating then to Australian stocks?
It is. It's not quite as dramatic, but tech stocks have done well on the local market. WiseTech Global, the tracking software group and the largest IT company on the ASX, is up more than 50% this year. Accounting software group Xero is up 33%. Online real estate company REA is up 21%. It certainly doesn't mean it's going to last, and get your own advice on this for sure, but it has been a great start to 2023 for the tech stocks.
All right, good story. Now, Sean, the ASX is closed today, obviously, but how did local markets finish up last week?
The S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.3% to 7,123 points, with two sectors doing much of the work, the tech stocks and the mining sector. We've spoken a fair bit about tech stocks. In terms of the miners, iron ore futures are trading higher. BHP climbed 1.3% as a result. Fortescue Metals was up 1.4%. The best on the bourse on Friday, though, was Nickel Industries, up 13.3%.
And is there much going on in commodity markets at the moment, Sean?
I mean, they're all trading, but oil and gold prices are off a bit. As I mentioned, iron ore prices are up a bit. Been a good few days for the Aussie dollar, and that's probably the standout news item this morning. It's trading around 67.4 US cents, Michael.
All right, we'll be back in a moment with the rest of the day's business news. Sean, Australia's biggest companies are doing a better job than the broader corporate sector of appointing female chief executives, with 5 women now in leadership roles among the top 20.
The rise in part reflects more female executives acquiring greater operational experience and boards recognising the advantage of having greater diversity among top decision makers, according to a report in the Financial Review. There have been 3 female appointments of top 20 ASX companies in the past year: Vicky Brady at Telstra, Lee Weckart at Coles, and Fiona Hick at Fortescue. That means the number has gone from 2 to 5. Of course, the other 2, Shamara Wickramanayaka, runs Macquarie Bank, and Meg O'Neill is boss at Woodside. The number of women running companies in the top 50 has doubled to 8. Among the ASX 200, the proportion of companies headed by women has also doubled, but at a much lower ratio. Basically, it shows that 21, or about 10% of the top 200 companies are now run by women. So at the very top level, it's 25%, but the further you go, the lower it gets. Still some work to do. In fact, still a lot of work to do, but at least they're on the way.
Yeah, it is a bit of progress, it seems. Now, Sean, Crown Resorts Chief Executive Kieran Carruthers has called for more workers to return to the office to help Australia's CBDs survive the cost of living crisis and economic slowdown.
Carruthers also backed the federal government's moves to lift skilled migration, saying more overseas workers will help the casino group bounce back to pre-pandemic levels. But he warns that spiralling rents need to be tackled, saying it presented a triple barrier for foreign workers choosing Australia in a very globally competitive labour market. Crown is Victoria's biggest single-site employer, taking up most of Melbourne's CBD eastern flank. The company also opened a $2.2 billion VIP casino and resort at Barangaroo in Sydney last August. It's got big operations in Perth as well. Overall, it employs 23,500 staff. Now, Carruthers has joined a growing number of chief executives, including National Australia Bank's Ross McEwen, who wants workers to return to their offices in order to revitalise CBDs, which of course would in turn help lift consumer and business confidence, or at least that's what Kieran Carruthers and Ross McEwen hope.
All right, Sean, change is afoot at Qantas. Actually, stop. Missed opportunity here. Change is in the air at Qantas.
Oh, much better.
Much better. It's just glorious, isn't it? Now, with the change that we're talking about here, male cabin crew now being allowed to grow their hair. That would obviously be a sensitive one for you, Sean, and wear makeup as well. And women can wear flat shoes and don't have to wear makeup.
It's quite remarkable that this story is a story, but it is. It's actually the biggest change in dress policy at the national carrier in 10 years. So the relaxation is the word they've used. The relaxation of previously hardline styling rules followed a lengthy uniform review by Qantas. That came after a lot of lobbying from unions. Other changes include the option for men and women to wear diamond earrings and colourful nail polish. Fitbits and large watches are now allowed as well. Men and women with long hair must wear it in a ponytail or bun or cornrows. Now, I had to look up what cornrows was, and I saw a picture of it, and I would have called it sort of tight plaits. But anyway, cornrows. There is also more fluidity between specific men's and women's uniform sets, with much more ability to mix up the various pieces. However, there is still a requirement to cover up any tattoos, and stockings are still required when wearing a dress or skirt. Name badges also remain compulsory for crew. Interesting story, this one in 2023.
In international news, Sean, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged over the weekend that his military was engaged in counteroffensive and defensive operations, a day after Russia's Vladimir Putin said Kyiv's long-vaunted drive to retake territory was well underway.
Zelensky said counteroffensive and defensive actions are taking place in Ukraine, but wouldn't be drawn on what stages they are. He said, when asked, the generals are all in a positive mood. Pass that on to Putin. Now, he said that with a smile. He was standing alongside visiting Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the time. Not sure that Trudeau quite knew what to say in response to that, but obviously the counteroffensive is up and running.
And Sean, Donald Trump addressed his supporters over the weekend for the first time since his indictment on multiple federal charges, saying it is a witch hunt, a fake indictment, and shows two standards of justice in the US.
The 37 counts of the indictment, released on Friday and focused on his alleged mishandling of classified materials, is potentially far more severe, legally at least, than previous charges of personal, political or commercial misconduct. In Columbus, Georgia, Trump called it a fake indictment, saying he's been pursued in court because of his bid for a second term in the White House. He went on, and I've got to quote this, Michael, because it is quite incredible. "We now have two standards of justice in our country. The Democrat communists want to jail their opponents while they protect the murderers who prowl our cities day and night and other brazen criminals."
Right.
Trump is due to appear in a federal court in Miami tomorrow night, Australian time, to answer charges he put US national security at risk.
Well, the theatre, Sean, just rolls on.
I mean, we talk about it so much because it is theatre and it is so entertaining. But it's also about running the world's most powerful country. And like when you think about that, it's incredibly sad.
Yeah, it's very, very, very serious indeed.
Yeah.
Now, up next is the Fear and Greed Daily interview. You are speaking today with Kian Tracy, the Chief Executive of Sustainable Choice Group, and part of that is the web platform sustainabilitytracker.com.
Yes, so sustainabilitytracker.com, Kian hopes, will eventually morph into basically a measurement tool to judge how people are going in the green transition. Really interesting chat with Kian.
Yeah, it's good. And it's interesting because the conversation goes into some of those kind of clients that are working with them as already, like I think Europe Car is one of them, and John West, I know you talk about.
John West is another, yeah.
Yeah, and so it kind of illustrates the way that big companies are able to use a platform like this. I've found it really interesting. You've also got, of course, Fear and Greed the week ahead, featuring our resident economist, Stephen Koukoulas.
I think he's in shock after last week. We had growth numbers that were weak. We had interest rate hike, which, well, broadly people didn't really expect. And we bring all that together. Also, this week we've got labour force numbers, very, very important. It's a lagging indicator, as in it's sort of the unemployment numbers come out after the economy has moved on a bit. They lag, and as a result, it'll be interesting to see whether we are seeing an uptick in the unemployment rate from the current level of 3.7%.
Excellent. Both of those interviews are coming up next in the Fear and Greed playlist on your podcast platform or at fearandgreed.com.au. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 12th of June, 2023. Make sure you're following the podcast. Join us online on LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and stay up to date on all the business news with Alexa and your Amazon Echo smart speaker. Simply say, "Alexa, play the Fear and Greed podcast," to catch the latest episode. You can grab yours now at amazon.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.